Hey, this is Angie Hooper with The Leadership Habit. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend, Scott Ferguson. Let's level up.
Hey, Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson. We're at episode 303 with a 2.0 episode or interview with my good friend, Angie Hooper from The Leadership Habit. And the first interview was straight fire. It was a lot of fun. But this interview, we got even deeper into if you're going to hire a coach and the different steps to really avoid imposter syndrome. And the biggest really takeaway I got is how to avoid burnout. And the title is Burnout-Proof Your Business and Fall Back in Love with Your Career. And that's something that Angie is a fantastic architect that can help you do that. So this one, break out the notebooks and take a bunch of notes, because I had like 3 pages of notes in a 25-minute conversation. So without further ado, here's my really good friend, a 2-point interview with Angela Hooper from The Leadership Habit. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and this is a 2.0 episode. Somebody that I really wanted to bring back. Episode 106 back in July of 2020, my good friend Angie Hooper came on. She was really geared then working with attorneys in burnout, but she's really parlayed that. She still works with the attorneys and whatnot, but she's really parlayed that to the masses. So that's why I have to get her back on, because, as we move out of the crazy COVID times and stuff, we're back on the road, we're getting out there, and it's a different kind of burnout than sitting at home all day and having nothing to do. And Angie, again, she's a really good friend of mine. She's the founder of Happy at Law and creator of the Forgiveness Path and the Happy at Life Habit. She teaches executives, entrepreneurs, lawyers, and leaders how to find their confidence, break free from the suck it up buttercup burnout cycle, and burn-out-proof their businesses and careers. So again, burn-out-proof your businesses and fall back in love with your career. That's what my good friend Angie does. And Angie, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming on. And if you could remind the squad what your favorite color is.
Oh, thank you. My favorite color is purple. I love it. It is the color of royalty. It is the color of leadership and walking those halls of power. And what I love about working with attorneys and leaders is that these are the people that are in the position to move the needle and create the kind of world that we want to live in, right? So many times, especially the last couple of years, it was easy to feel like we were at the mercy of the world around us and to forget how powerful we are when we show up as ourselves and turn that impact loose, turn ourselves loose as leaders and authentic people.
Wow.
So yeah, purple.
That's awesome. That I take notes during, my show. So that's why I can't write fast enough. That's awesome. So what brought you to, because you're an attorney, and Scott, she's a badass attorney. Definitely want her in your corner. Like you're an attorney and you're working with basically your colleagues, and whether they're worldwide or whatnot, they're still your colleagues being an attorney. What got you into kind of parlaying this, into really leveling it up to the masses?
Well, as I looked around, people came to me and I would describe what I was doing for lawyers, and they would say, "Oh gosh, can you do that for an accountant? Can you do that for an engineer? Can you do that for me?" And I would say, "Well, yeah, if you don't mind all these lawyer examples." But it turned out that what I was doing for lawyers was really part of the human experience. And so if you remember, sometimes I talk about lawyering is inevitable, but we're not, but suffering's optional. I say that to people sometimes, but really we think of ourselves as people having a business experience or people having a professional experience. We're actually humans having that professional experience. We've got to connect to our humanity to be truly successful for the long term.
So what are you finding is the major cause for the burnout that they're experiencing?
For so many people, it's the disconnect from who they really are to who they think they're supposed to be.
Wow. Let's go deeper on that. Let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah. One of the first things I do with my clients is I take them through a process where we identify their core values. Now, lots of people have done values exercises. They've checked a thing or filled out a form. We do this a little bit differently because the way we define values is not a political affiliation, a religious affiliation. It's not a set of standards. It's not your corporate mission statement. When we talk about values at Happy at Law and as part of the Happy at Life habit, the leadership habit, what we're talking about are the ideals that light up your soul.
Wow.
Yeah. So what we do is take people through a process where they will funnel down to their top 5 core values, the things that will get them out of bed when they're tired.
Right.
The things that, like, that's the hill they are willing to die on, whether they realize it or not. And so sometimes we get a step disconnected from that and we think, well, what I really care about is, being successful, having a thing.
Right.
You don't really care about the thing. You care about the freedom.
Wow.
That's
so
your value.
True.
Yeah.
Right. The values they get you out of bed in the morning. As I get a little bit older, I just turned 50, it's like check engine light comes on just a little bit more often than usual. I mean, I'm still on my paddleboard early in the morning or jujitsu mats or whatever I'm doing, but it's those values that is like, dude, I want to grow older, and still level up. And that's where you're helping them really dig down and list those 5 values, right? And then putting those to work to maybe connect the disconnect, because we are humans experiencing the business world. I love that, because a lot of people think that I'm sorry, I'm speaking over you, but a lot of people think that, they're a business person before they're a human. And because that's what pays their bills, right?
Yeah, we flip that around. You are a human having a business experience.
Wow.
And you show up to your business with the feelings you haven't felt because you didn't wanna. Right. The hurts from the past that you're still connected to. You show up with your divine purpose, your values. You show up with all of that stuff. But then we run it through this filter of it's just business, and we wonder why we're stressed out.
Right.
So we take that when we're working with people on their values, we take that core values list, but we take it a next step and we identify the characteristics of those values so that they can spot their value in alignment out in the world.
Wow, you're like a psychologist too. I mean, this is fantastic. No, I love it. I love it, because a lot of times people see attorneys are like, and I love it. So how much do you believe that narcissism works against your habits?
In terms of if you are the narcissistic tendency
Yes.
Well, here's the thing. We are oftentimes trained in a particular way of thinking about goals that make it a me focused thing instead of a service focused thing.
Right.
And for people,
so good.
Yeah.
Good.
If that works for you, where it's all about, I'm going to check off these boxes of achievement because that's external.
Mm-hmm.
If your identity is built on what other people think of you, that's going to work for you.
Right.
For a certain amount of time.
Absolutely.
At a certain point, you'll be chasing that goalpost and you can't get enough positive feedback and approval and accolades. It will stop feeding you.
Wow.
And that's when you have the breakdown.
That's amazing, because I'm a recovered narcissist, 100%. And I still have my tendencies that come up, having my story that people know, now the chip on my shoulder, abandonment issues. So I'm always that, but I love how you kind of unpack that. So when you're working with people, whether in groups or one-on-one, what is your little bit of your secret sauce then that maybe help them find their blind spots?
Yeah. So what we do is we look honestly at what we do.
Okay.
Because what we're doing is never a lie. I could tell you all day long, I'm going to drink that green smoothie, or I'm going to do the workout, or I'm going to show up for the meeting prepared. I can tell you all day what I'm going to do. But if I don't actually show up and do it, then that wasn't true. Right. But here's the kicker. Instead of saying, I didn't do it, so I'm a bad person, and we go down the judgment spiral, we look at that with self-compassion and we say, okay, what if I gave myself the benefit of the doubt and I just assumed that I didn't do the thing and I had a good reason. I
Right.
wonder what my reason was.
Wow. So you dig deep for that reason, which obviously not obviously, but it actually kind of all goes back to those core values, right?
It does. It does.
Love it.
We call it the belief to behavior formula.
Okay.
The stimulus comes in, the catalyst comes in, it's neutral. It's traffic. It's, your wife gave you a funny look. It's whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The checking account balance is X number of dollars,
Right.
Neutral stimulus. We filter that through a belief. Now, that might be core values. It might be I'm a good person or a bad person because I have $1,000 in the bank, or it might be some other kind of belief, but we filter it through and we give that stimulus, that neutral stimulus, a meaning. And that's what drives our behavior. So instead of trying to willpower, tough your way through it, or control the world around you, you get a lot of control freakiness, right?
Absolutely. I'm right there too. So
yeah, me too, right?
Yeah.
We used to be. We go back to what we really actually have 100% control over, which is, what am I believing about what's happening right now?
Right.
Because that's the real reason I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right. So you go back, you fall back into, would you call it a comfort zone? Or what would you call that? Like, you said you kind of go back when you kind of get stuck and you get stimulated.
Yeah.
You're like, what do you think you fall back to?
Comfort zone is good shorthand for it, but we could also think about it in terms of familiarity, right? This is the devil I know.
Right.
This is where I know the outcome is going to be unpleasant, right? But at least I know what it's going to be.
Right.
So there's no risk in terms of uncertainty.
Mm.
Whereas when I change something, then I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
It might be amazing. And then we get to the identity piece, which is, now that I've achieved amazingness,
right,
can I be the person who has it?
That segues right into something that you have kind of rolling out, which identifying the right coach for you. So with regards to that, like being able to unpack it and being able to really dig deep, how can somebody, again, what makes a great coach, or how can somebody identify a great coach?
Yeah. To me, the first question to ask is a question usually people don't ask until the end, which is, do I want a coach who's going to be really directive, who's going to tell me what to do? Or do I want a coach that's going to be more client-centered and is going to help me uncover my best strategy, right, within their framework? And that to me is really the two big buckets of coaches who come in and say, here is my system, do it exactly the way I tell you. I'll help you with the places where you feel stuck, but the answer is the answer, right?
Right.
And then there's the coaches who are like, here is my framework. It works for everybody. How is it implemented for you? What's the expression of that works for you?
Wow.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of the direct coaches that you have, and again, I've been coaching 8 years, so I've been finding that a lot of the direct coaches almost come off as consultants.
Yep.
Versus the more that we're going to use what works for you and asking those lofty, powerful questions and whatnot. Are you more of a coach or a consultant, or are you a coach-sultant?
I'm probably a coach-sultant.
Okay.
My framework is the foundation, right? Like, we've got a system to hold people. That container of the system gives them a place to work from. But because we start with the individual, the core values, looking at what's your thing, what's your stimulus that comes in that makes you crazy, let's work on that. What's the source of your stress, as opposed to, we're going to manage the stress and like take the edge off so you can keep going, right? But you're going to keep you on that path to burnout,
right?
We're going to get to the root of it, right?
Yeah. Love that. You cut off the root. You can grow something new within that.
Absolutely.
I love that. So when you're starting to work with a group or even clients one-on-one, maybe you're still in the discovery period, is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
One of the questions that I think is important to ask is, what's my goal, right? Like, I don't tell them specifically what their goal is. Like, but if somebody comes to me with a problem and says, I want to be happier at work, or I feel stuck, or I can't get it all done. I don't know what to do.
Wow.
Creating that vision for them, helping them get clear about what it is that they want it to look like on the other side. How do they want to feel at the end? Because the other part of this dichotomy of the directive coaches versus the client-centered coaches is going to be, is the coach helping you to become, or is the coach helping you to execute? Right.
Wow.
So, and this is a big piece of my habit framework. So the leadership habit framework is heart, alignment to the values, behaviors, which is where we do the goal setting. And then we go to identity, and then we look at the thoughts. If you achieve the goal through that behavior, and you have not become the person who has that goal, you will self-sabotage it.
Oh my
and let
gosh,
it go.
I've never heard it said like that. Can you say that one more time, please, just so the squad hears that?
Yeah, because it is super critical. If you achieve the goal, you have engaged in the behavior, but you have not become the person who has that goal, who has done it, who achieves it, who lives that, you will sabotage it and let it go because it's incongruent with your old identity. Right.
Wow.
You've got to upgrade that identity to match the new you that has achieved this goal.
Wow.
Or you will let it go.
And then you kind of go through like a never ending loop of imposter syndrome in a sense, because you really never became that new identity.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
You can see this a lot. Two places I see a lot, just as I'm sort of noticing how people are. One is a person who has worked so hard to achieve a certain level of fitness, but they have never, you're laughing already. You know where I'm going.
Yeah.
In their head, they are still a fat kid.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking.
Oh my gosh.
It is heartbreaking.
Wow. You nailed it with that, even in my experience, Angie, because I came from a father that worked on the line at General Motors in Detroit, right? Everyone's big three. Yeah. Everyone had that lack identity. Yep. And, I got out of the military and I grinded, I had that chip on my shoulder, and I put 2 commas in my bank account, but I didn't have the identity to keep it. The theory of relativity happened during that time, because once you make money, everyone's your relative, right? So then I was just giving it away, whatnot, but then I didn't have it. And I didn't listen to mentors that got me there. And said, watch your money, watch this. And that's so critical.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
You can build that identity as a person who is abundant and has wealth and success on your way to the achievement.
Right.
Or you can kind of suck it up, buttercup, power your way through, and then look around and say, I have all this stuff and I'm not happy. I don't feel abundant. I don't feel successful.
Right.
And we're calling that imposter syndrome right now, but it's a straight up identity mismatch to the achievement.
100%. I love it. So last time you answered the question, I did re-listen to this part of our last podcast. I want to see if it still aligns, because your business has evolved a lot in 2 years. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back in that DeLorean with Marty McFly. Let's go back, let's still go back to the double deuce, the 22-year-old Angie. I doubt it was Hooper by then, but the 22-year-old Angie, what knowledge nuggets would you drop on her to help her level up, shorten her learning curve, and blast through not so much change, but help her level up?
Yeah. Just to reduce the level of misery I put myself through.
There you go. That might help.
Here's what I would tell her. Become first, then do. Embody it, be it, claim the identity of who you are becoming, and achieving it will be so much easier. It will feel natural and intrinsically motivated, but you got to be first and then do. We got it backwards.
Yeah, it exactly. And a lot of times it kind of goes back to someone will say, I'll believe it when I see it, but you see it when you believe it, right? Yeah, I love it. So how do you want your dash remembered then? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life date and death date on your tombstone, hopefully it's years in the future.
Yeah.
How do you want
I've gotten more ambitious. About the dash. I'll admit it. Because when I was here the last time, I was like, I want to be known as the person who transforms the legal profession.
Right.
And my I have become the person who is willing to be of greater service. So now my ambition is to become the person who's known for transforming what it means to be successful and transforming how we train leaders so that we have leaders at every level who are values driven, who are passionate, who feel intrinsically motivated, so that we let go of the grind and we let who we are and our love and what we want create the success along the way.
Okay, so then what is Angie's definition of success?
For me personally, it is to be who I am. It's to be who I was born to be.
Right.
In all the things that I do. And actually, it's funny, as I'm answering this question, I'm recognizing in my head how these line up with my 5 values.
Sure.
One of my 5 core values is celebration. It's to have awe and wonder in the world around me, to be of service. One of my core values is stewardship, to show up and leave every person, place, thing, and event better than where I found it.
Wow.
That's success. The rest of it sort of takes care of itself.
I love it. It's like success is kind of like it's a direct result of knowing you kind of did your best and became the best along the way. That's something you've really reiterated a lot in our discussion right now, is that become the person that you're becoming. Right.
Yes.
It's like, really become that person. I love it. I love it. So then, Angie, what do you think then people misunderstand about you?
We think we'll get it when we get there, right? We're constantly pushing that goalpost down the line. If I get X, then I will feel Y. If I get X, I will be Y. And it's backwards. How can I be Y so that X comes to me and I create it and I accept it when it shows up?
Right. I mean,
how many times have you looked past an opportunity? Right? Yeah.
You have to know your why. And that's one of the first things you kind of unpack with finding those 5 core values in the start. That's awesome. That's awesome. So is there anything really that keeps you up at night?
Yeah. The thing that still keeps me up at night is did I say that the right way, or did I have fear? Did I show up 100% authentically, fearlessly? Because you and I haven't talked about the difference between courage and fearlessness. I've got a video out of
let's hear an abbreviated version.
Yeah. Courage is acting in the face of fear. Courage is a fear-based decision. You get how that works?
Yep.
Fearlessness is moving toward your dream, letting everything else get out of the way.
Wow.
When I am fearless, I am 100% focused on my dream and my vision of who I want to be and how I want to be today. When I am courageous, I'm thinking about everybody else.
Wow. So the courageous is facing the face of fear.
It is a fear-based decision to be courageous.
Running towards it.
Yeah.
Right. And just saying, all right, man, let's bring it on. And you know that you've prepared for it. And I really believe the separation's in the preparation, right? So that you're really prepared for it. Love that. And so, Angie, then I asked you the definition of success, but what is your definition of a life well lived?
At our best, it's the same.
I love it. It is. It's very true. It's very true.
Yeah.
And time to shine today, podcast Varsity Squad. We are back, and Angie, we've did this before, so some questions might be the same, but I threw a couple curveballs in for you, counselor.
Ooh.
Okay, so
let's do it.
Remember, 5 seconds, no explanations. Okay.
Ready
to level up? All right,
let's
do this. What is Angie's best leveling up advice she's ever received?
Stop and take a breath.
Yeah. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Morning coffee outside with the Great Danes.
Oh, love it. How many Great Danes you have? I'll break that one real. Nice. So you see me walking down the street. I'm in my doldrums a little bit. You're like, Fergie, man, read this. What book you handed me?
I hand you The 4 Agreements.
Pajuelo. I love it. Love it. What's your most commonly used emoji when you text?
Celebration with the party hat.
Yeah. Nicknames growing up?
Tex.
Say it again.
Tex.
Tex? Why
Yeah.
Tex? Why Tex?
I went to an international school for a couple of years, and
Yeah.
I was the one from Texas, and I was really tall.
How tall are you?
Well, I'm like 5'8.5", 5'9".
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Awesome. Awesome. So any New Year's resolution this year?
No, I don't make them. I make birthday resolutions, personal New Year.
Love that. Love it.
Yeah.
Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Bridge.
Oh,
actually, Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
I'm hanging up. I love it. So what's your go-to ice cream flavor?
Vanilla.
Nice. Okay.
Completely underrated.
Mine too. To be honest with you, I love vanilla. Yeah. I love just opening a vanilla container and smelling it. I'm weird like that.
You know what? Vanilla is the ice cream of unlimited possibility.
Very, very true. Just like your coaching. Yes. but your coaching's not really vanilla though. So
no.
You're different. So there's a sandwich named the Tex Hooper.
Yeah.
What is on that sandwich?
It is gluten-free toasted sourdough.
Okay.
With bacon, provolone, and like a deli mustard.
You are
and some lettuce. Yeah.
You are a sister from another mister. I'll tell you that right now. You just threw man candy on that sandwich, bacon. I love it. So you have an opportunity to get in a time machine for one day. You come back to present day. Would you go back to any time in the past and visit, or go 30 years ahead? Just for one day.
I'd go 30 years out.
Okay. Very cool.
But it's kind of a lot. I'm not much of a reminiscer. I don't really look back. I'm like, I did that. That was fun. What's coming? Let's do it.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So how about any favorite charities and an organization you like to give your time or money to?
Make-A-Wish. Make-A-Wish Oklahoma does really, really cool stuff.
Awesome.
My sweetie and I were talking about this the other day. The Airman Support Fund, when he was a young airman and had little kids, he was a beneficiary of that. And so now, we're in a different place in our lives.
That's fantastic. Thank you for doing that. So again, you better answer the same way as last time, but the best decade of music, 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
Oh, golly. I don't remember what I said last time, but
I do.
The 90s were the soundtrack of my younger self. But I mean, it's the 80s.
80s. I was just going to say, that's what you said last time.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the 80s had everything. Big Hair, Don't Care, Invasions from U2, Duran Duran Culture Club. You had the metal rock, you had rap with Run DMC and Beastie Boys. And
that's right. That's right.
The 80s,
that's what we listened to when we were hanging out at the pool.
Dude, I would go back in the 80s just to hang out for a day. You know
okay, that would be worth.
Dude.
Yes, that would be worth spending a time machine day on.
Gosh.
Go back and catch that Faith concert at Texas Stadium one more time. I'd use a day on that.
Yeah, there was an epic kegger. You remember keggers back in our day, So there's an epic kegger. I'd go back and relive that night, man. It was just awesome. I know it's terrible, but the music they were playing on the stage and everything, it was just, anyways. So Angie, let's get into how we can find you.
Yes. So AngieHooper.com has sort of everything. If folks want to know how to work with us, there's information there about how to work with us. If somebody is in a place where they'd like to talk to me one-to-one about how I can support them, then they just go to AngieHooper.com/apply. They'll get straight into my calendar. We do well, I used to say pro bono because it was mostly lawyers, but we do a complimentary strategy session to help people figure out where they're at and what their best next step is. So we do that. And then also on the site, you can find links to the Forgiveness Path program and the ebook that's coming out about those 5 steps somebody can make right now. We've got a guide out there that they can look into for finding out how to take those first steps.
Okay, so let's little bit with the Forgiveness Path. Like, what's Can you unpack that a little bit for us?
Yeah. What we found as we were working with our clients is that there were a lot of times people would bump up against part of their emotional and mental energy was tied up with some past event, something that hurt them, something where, it was unjust, right? It could have been something as seemingly simple as a divorce, something as complex as getting bullied as a kid, but at some point in the future, or at some point in the past, there's still a part of them that's back there. And we take them through non-sectarian spiritual technology is what I call it. We take them through a process to call that energy back and transform how they're thinking about that past event so that they are free.
I love it. And is it a course or do they get time with Angie?
It's a mini course. If you buy it as a standalone, we actually include it in our 8-week program where they would get one-on-one time with me to work through it.
Gotcha. And where can they find the 8-week program?
The 8-week program, they'll book a call. We only take people into that program if we're sure that we are the right solution for you.
I love it.
So we ask people to, it's, just part of one of our 5.
There's a right horse for every course. And sometimes it doesn't work out. And that's why I love this podcast, because I can refer business to people like Angie and whatnot. It's really, it's fantastic. So you're also got a show launching on the Honest Network through Roku and the Fire TV. What's the name of that show?
That show is going to be The Leadership Habit also.
Okay.
We are going to talk about these 5 aspects of stepping into your leadership, dealing the heart, which is where we look at our feelings, the alignment to values, the behavior. We do goal setting a little bit differently than you see out there, based on our goal setting is based on making decisions without regrets because you base them on your values. The identity piece that we talked about earlier today, and then upgrading those thoughts and beliefs to match the new identity and the goals that you're achieving.
You can say level up. It's all right.
Level up.
I'm just kidding. Angie, do me one last favor, love, and leave us with a knowledge nugget that we can take, the listeners can take with them, internalize, and take action on.
Yeah. You cannot think your feelings.
You cannot think your feelings.
You cannot think your feelings. If somebody asks how you're feeling and you say, I think I'm a little sad about that, that's your brain talking.
Right.
But we got to get to your heart. Your heart is where the feeling has occurred. I know, it's a whole other podcast we could do on that.
Wow. This is Squad. I'm so glad that I did a 2.0 interview with my awesome sauce friend, Angie here, that we are kind of at mercy to the world. And when that happens, we forget how powerful that we are. That you got to get in line up with those ideas that light up your soul, the core values that get you out of bed in the morning. And someone like Angie will really help you dig deep and unpack that and get to it. Remember, you are a human having a business experience, not the other way around. Make sure you show up daily with your divine purpose and values. Angie will help find that blind spot that you have by actually looking at digging deep to find those values, what you fall back on, that person that you fall back on. And her 5-step process is something that I haven't heard of, the way that she's rocking it out. She has the belief, the behavior formula, a neutral stimulus to give it meaning and drive your behavior. You just go back and re-listen to this, because I'm just reading off my notes that are abbreviated here. So coaches can be either direct or client-centered. That's 2 different people. Someone's going to tell you what to do, and it's their way, or else they're going to get a little creative and work your way around to get you where you need to be. And that's what Angie does on both sides, depending on which course that you're going to go. Angie, want you to ask your coach, maybe when you're in the discovery period, how are you going to help me reach my goals? How are you going to create some clarity for me to get there? Is your coach helping you to become who you're going to be? Or are they just helping you to execute? There's different coaches, different horses for different courses. And she says that if you become your goal, but you don't become the person that achieves it, you will sabotage and let go. Never-ending loop of kind of like an imposter syndrome, okay? And she believes that we always say here at Time to Shine today, inch by inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's hard. So if you build your identity kind of slowly and become that person, you will keep that identity at the end. She says, become first, then do. Claim the identity you are becoming. As her dash, she's evolved so much from before, but she's showing what it means, transforming what it means to be successful, giving that definition a more elaborate, fantastic meaning, if you will. She's someone that lives in awe of the wonder of the world, is just a person of service. She's always so giving, and she reminds us that courage is facing just the fear. Fearlessness is moving towards it. That's what a lot of people, I use a metaphor of our military. They're scared shitless people, but they move forward and they go, and that's what fearlessness is. And lastly, you cannot think your feelings. Get to the heart of things. Someone like Angie can help you do that. And Angie levels up her house. She levels up her wealth. She's humble for an attorney, yet hungry and curious. And I'm so blessed to have did this second one. You've earned another Varsity Squad letter. Thank you so much for coming in, Angie. I love your guts so much. Mwah.
Oh, thank you. You too. It's my privilege. Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon, love. Bye now.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.